Rome didn't fall overnight, so forget everything you think you know about the end of the Roman Empire. There wasn't a single moment, a dramatic battle, or a final betrayal that toppled it all. The truth is, Rome's collapse was a slow-motion disaster, stretched out over centuries, full of political chaos, economic ruin, devastating plagues, and unstoppable migrations. And even after it fell, Rome never really disappeared. In fact, its shadow still stretches across the modern world. In today's video, we read diving deep into how the Roman Empire truly fell and why its story still matters right now. 1,500 years later, Rome's golden age and the first cracks at its height, Rome was unstoppable. By the 2nd century AD, under emperors like Trajan and Marcus Aurelius, the empire stretched from the icy hills of Scotland to the burning sands of Arabia. It was an empire built on roads, trade, military conquest, and brutal efficiency. Roman citizenship was a prized identity, and the Pax Romana, the Roman peace, seemed eternal. But under the surface, cracks were already forming. The government was bloated. The army, once a citizen's duty, became a career. And increasingly, those careers were filled by foreigners. Mercenaries who didn't always feel loyalty to Rome. And then came the leadership crisis. Emperors were no longer chosen for their abilities, but by assassination, bribery, or outright civil war. The seeds of collapse had been planted. Rome just didn't know it yet. 2. Political chaos and the crisis of the 3rd century. From 235 to 284 AD, the Roman Empire plunged into chaos. This was the infamous crisis of the 3rd century. Just 50 years, 26 emperors ruled, most for less than 3 years. Almost all of them died violently. The empire split apart. Rival generals declared themselves emperors in different corners of the empire. Civil wars became the norm. Provinces like Gaul and Palmyra broke away, forming their own mini-empires. Rome was fighting itself more than its enemies. Meanwhile, frontier defenses weakened, inviting attacks from outside tribes who sensed blood in the water. It wasn't just about bad leaders, the whole system was failing. 3. Economic meltdown and the death spiral. Endless civil wars and invasions drained the empire's treasury. Desperate to fund armies and buy loyalty, Roman emperors started debasing the currency, mixing less silver into coins. This led to rampant inflation. Prices of everyday goods skyrocketed. A loaf of bread that once cost a few coins could cost hundreds, even thousands, in a matter of years. Taxes were crushing, and corruption was everywhere. Worse, as money became worthless, local economies collapsed. Cities shrank. Trade routes fell into disuse. People fled the cities for the countryside, returning to subsistence farming just to survive. Rome wasn't just an empire in decline. It was an economy in freefall. 4. Plagues and population collapse. And then came the plagues. The Antonine Plague, likely smallpox, devastated the empire in the late 2nd century, wiped out up to a third of the population. Later, the plague of Cyprian swept through in the 3rd century, striking a weakened Rome even harder. Cities were emptied. Armies starved for recruits. Farmlands went untended. The tax base crumbled even further. It wasn't just an economic crisis, it was a humanitarian disaster. Rome's power had always been rooted in its people, its soldiers, farmers, and merchants. Without them, even the strongest walls and bravest generals couldn't hold the empire together. 5. Barbarian migrations and the fracturing of the West. By the 4th and 5th centuries, whole nations, Goths, Vandals, Huns, were on the move. Climate change, war, and pressure from Central Asia pushed entire peoples westward into Roman territory. But these groups weren't just bloodthirsty invaders. Many were refugees, desperate to find new homes within the empire's borders. Rome struggled to manage these massive migrations. Sometimes it welcomed the newcomers. Sometimes it brutally oppressed them. Eventually, groups like the Visigoths, fed up with Roman mistreatment, rebelled. In 410 AD, the Visigoths under Alaric sacked Rome. The first time in 800 years that the Eternal City fell to an enemy. It was a symbolic blow more than a strategic one. The Empire staggered on, but it was clear the old world was ending. Conclusion: the fall and the legacy. In 476 AD, the last Western Roman emperor, Romulus Augustulus, barely a teenager, was deposed by the barbarian general Odoacer. No grand final battle, no noble last stand. Just a quiet handover of power. But here's the thing. By then, Rome was already gone. The institutions were hollow. The economy was shattered. The sense of a united Roman identity had fractured. And yet Rome didn't truly die. Its roads, its laws, its language, its ideas lived on. The Catholic Church preserved Roman administration. The idea of Rome haunted medieval kings and Renaissance thinkers. Today, when we talk about republics, senate houses, legal systems, we're still speaking the language of Rome. Empires don't fall in a day. They unravel slowly. Sometimes they never really leave.